Delegates and alternates, let us commence with the call of the roll of the states.
Delegates, are you ready? Let me hear you.
Iowa, 40 delegates.
Dude, you gotta do it.
Georgia, 59 delegates.
Fire, get loud, another round of shots. DNC, turn out for what? Turn out for what? Hey, turn out for what?
West Virginia, 32 votes. President Donald J. Trump.
Party people, come on. TNC, party people, come on. Roll call, party people, come on. TNC, party people, come on.
Thank you, delegates.
It's time for us to do the right thing, and that is to elect Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States of America.
A tale of two roll calls. The Democratic National Convention turned into what is usually a lifeless event into a party as delegates pledged support for Vice President Harris. A DJ played chart-topping tracks to represent each state and territory. When Georgia was called, Atlanta's own award-winning rapper Lil Jon performed his hit songs. And when Harris's home state of California cast the final votes for her, it was timed perfectly, with Harris walking on stage in Milwaukee at a rally with about 15,000 people there. And the vice president then addressed the two packed arenas at the same time.
Good evening, Milwaukee. And hello to everyone joining us from exciting Chicago. The delegates at the Democratic National Convention, well, they just completed their roll call. And they have nominated Coach Walz and me to be the next Vice President and President of the United States of America. And I thank everyone there and here for believing in what we can do together. We are so honored to be your nominees. This is a people-powered campaign, and together we will chart a new way forward.
Wow.
And that was just the beginning.
Just well, Willie, I mean, you talk about a show of force, a show of power. That was impressive. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before. I mean, 15,000 in Milwaukee, just packed. And then, you know, in Chicago also at the convention. Wow, that was crazy.
Yeah, 20,000 in Chicago, 15,000 in Milwaukee. Perfect stagecraft as well. By the way,
Yes.
when Lil Jon is doing your roll call
Yeah.
for the state of Georgia, you're doing something right. And let's not forget, Lil Jon, a contestant on Celebrity Apprentice, season 11, who has turned his back on Donald Trump.
I'm sure that had nothing to do with Lil Jon being selected. I will say, though,
Lil Jon.
if you're looking at the contrast between the Republican convention and the Democratic convention and the roll call, what you're looking at now is when Willie and Eddie get together and have a party on the weekend.
That's true.
Mine's more like the RNC. Arnold Palmer, anybody? Arnold Palmer, anybody?
Right.
The guy spinning the records, DJ Cassidy. Everybody in the country now wants that playlist. I was partial to New Jersey. He went with Springsteen.
I liked it.
Of course, and Governor Phil Murphy said, we're representing the great state of New Jersey, and you're not.
Exactly.
Yes.
He brought it. Along with Joe, Willie, and me, we have professor at Princeton University, Eddie Glaude Jr., NBC News national affairs analyst and a partner and chief political columnist at Puck, John Heilman, the host of Way Too Early, White House bureau chief at Politico, Jonathan Lemire.
Let me say, on Central Time Zone, the name of the show brings with it
It's
an
pain.
extra sting.
It's
Way
pain.
too
Welcome
early.
to pain. All right, and the president of the National Action Network and host of MSNBC's Politics Nation, Reverend Al Sharpton, is with us as well.
Do you remember Denver when that was 2 hours earlier? So you were getting up maybe at 1 a.m. to get ready for Way Too Early?
I did Way Too Early once from the Vancouver Olympics. It was on at 2:30 a.m. for a month. Chris Licht and I waking up together.
You were the founder,
11 p.m.
the true founder. Okay.
But obviously that was the roll call was fun and the energy was real and the arena was packed. But then that was just the opening act for the headliners, Michelle and Barack Obama.
And boy, did Michelle bring it. One of the most popular figures in the Democratic Party, former First Lady Michelle Obama, gave a powerful 21-minute speech taking on Donald Trump on issues of race and gender. In her remarks, she touched on her family's history and the importance of this election.
Something wonderfully magical is in the air, isn't it? Yeah. You know, we're feeling it here in this arena, but it's spreading all across this country we love. A familiar feeling that's been buried too deep for far too long. You know what I'm talking about. It's the contagious power of hope. The anticipation, the energy, the exhilaration of once again being on the cusp of a brighter day. The chance to vanquish the demons of fear, division, and hate that have consumed us and continue pursuing the unfinished promise of this great nation, the dream that our parents and grandparents fought and died and sacrificed for. America, hope is making a comeback. My girl, Kamala Harris, is more than ready for this moment. She is one of the most qualified people ever to seek the office of the presidency. And she is one of the most dignified. A tribute to her mother, to my mother, and to your mother, too. The embodiment of the stories we tell ourselves about this country. Her story is your story. It's my story. It's the story of the vast majority of Americans trying to build a better life. She understands that most of us will never be afforded the grace of failing forward. We will never benefit from the affirmative action of generational wealth. If we bankrupt a business or choke in a crisis, we don't get a second, third, or fourth chance. If things don't go our way, we don't have the luxury of whining or cheating others to get further ahead. No. We don't get to change the rules so we always win. If we see a mountain in front of us, we don't expect there to be an escalator waiting to take us to the top. Now, unfortunately, we know what comes next. We know folks are going to do everything they can to distort her truth. My husband and I sadly know a little something about this. For years, Donald Trump did everything in his power to try to make people fear us. See, his limited, narrow view of the world made him feel threatened by the existence of two hard-working, highly educated, successful people who happen to be black. I want to know, who's going to tell him that the job he's currently seeking might just be one of those black jobs? It's up to us to remember what Kamala's mother told her. Don't just sit around and complain. Do something. So if they lie about her, and they will, we've got to do something. If we see a bad poll, and we will, we got to put down that phone and do something. If we start feeling tired, if we start feeling that dread creeping back in, we got to pick ourselves up, throw water on our face, and what? Consider this to be your official ask. Michelle Obama is asking you, no, I'm telling y'all to do something. Because
And Michelle Obama, Eddie Glaude, rocked the night, but she was speaking to not just the young people across the nation. I think it's people across the nation who are just feeling like very, very brought down by the past, I don't know, 4 to 8 years, the Trump years, COVID, the impact that it's had on our kids. She really brought people up and said, come on. It's on us. Let's go.
Absolutely. The line, hope is making a comeback.
Yeah.
And she did it with her arms out, that sleeveless outfit, you know, just wonderful. And I think it was important for her, who's always reluctant, the reluctant warrior, to step on the stage, to come out and offer that account, that vision, that defense. And then we don't benefit from the affirmative action of generational wealth.
Oh, what a
great line. And so I thought she understood, you know, we don't, you know, when they go low, we go high. No, when they go low, we fight back, and she fought back last night.
So, Rev, you were in the room last night. You watched the speech from First Lady Obama and President Obama as well. Tamika's point, we'll play some of it. President Obama made that same speech, effectively that same message and point, when he said, we don't want to live in this country that Donald Trump has been showing us, the picture he's been painting for the last decade. We don't want to be divided. In fact, we're not. And something we say on the show all the time when you coach Little League or go to church, we're not the way Donald Trump says we are. So let's not be that way. Let's have hope make that comeback.
I think that the electricity you saw here last night, my opinion, electrified people around the country, is that we're not dealing with grievance, and we're not even dealing with the fact that some of us are in unfair situations as we consider it, but they reignited in us hope that we're better than this, and we can do better than this, and we can strive to make this country better. And we have done so in the past. And I couldn't help but think about how 20 years ago, in 2004, when President Obama, then Senate candidate Obama, brought that center stage. I was in that convention. I had ran that year. And then 20 years later, they're bringing us back to the same place of saying we will not surrender to despair and turning on each other, that we can, through hope, unite this country and go to the next chapter. I thought it was awesome.